a lot of people celebrate this December 25th day as Christmas, Christ's Mass, and not necessarily understanding the impact in terms of the science, the spirituality, but also the history behind it. So, I just wanted to take some time and, first start by saying I was never necessarily a big fan of the holidays and of any holiday in general as I came into my adulthood, because I saw how a lot of these things were just very, corporate driven. It's a good time for these corporations to sell their products and, have consumers consuming more. All of the unhealthy things that we think about in terms of consumption, overindulging in drinking and, eating and drug use and things like that in general. The overindulgence aspect, I think, is not necessarily a way that I want to spend my holy day. So when I saw this in people that I was around during these times, it really made me want to retract. I didn't want to indulge in that, especially when I started eating differently, when I started thinking differently. Christ is all about the consciousness. It really, in its essence, meant anointed one, and we are all anointed in a way, but it's that awareness, that consciousness in this physical realm that gives us more of that spiritual essence to be able to carry that, embody it, and then live accordingly. So, I first want to talk about the history of Christmas or Christ Mass, right? And the idea of it comes from this holiday called Saturnalia, and it was really a celebration during the winter solstice, which is a Roman tradition, Saturnalia, but it really comes from the ancient Egyptians, or really the people of Kemet. So these folks in Kemet, they also celebrated the winter solstice, and during the winter solstice, it's the shortest days. So even this idea of, the Son of God rising from the dead, this is very symbolic and significant of, that analogy that is given in the Bible. Even when we're breaking down, certain traditions and how they came about, the Roman emperors at the time, as they're trying to integrate Christianity and get out of these pagan ways, a big thing was to create this holiday that allowed people to celebrate Jesus Christ, or the Roman version of the Messiah, Jesus Christ. And so, just for me personally, I definitely understand the significance of the story, right? And how Christ consciousness could be taught through this book. But when we think about the picture or the image that we've been given, so when you close your eyes and think of Jesus, you're thinking of Caesar Borgia, right? This man was not a fictional person. We use to this day as the image of Christ, or the image of Jesus. And so, when we talk about these Western ways of celebrating and even honoring the Most High, a lot of people that are becoming more conscious, more spiritually aware, are turned off by these things because of the fact that there's real history to it, and there's real damage that has been done in terms of the psychology of what these celebrations are supposed to be about. Like, even when you think about the Bible, there's no Christmas in the Bible. But the anatomy of just even Santa Claus, or really it's your Saint Claustrum. Your claustrum is a part of your brain that is considered the seat or the center of consciousness. And from this part of your brain, which is, the motherboard to your central nervous system, the higher dimension or the heaven of your central nervous system, we release this milk and honey, this cerebral spinal fluid that flows down through our spine, that activates our nerves, our neurons, our essence, our spirit, right? And, also cleanses our blood. It tells us to breathe. It tells us to move. And this fluid travels up and down the spine, aka Jacob's ladder, those 33 vertebrae, those 33 years that equal the life of Jesus, or that Christ consciousness. So this is truly a physical thing that we are all, in a sense, playing with throughout our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. But that awareness teaches you then how to treat and heal yourself. When we talk about sex, for example, that energy that travels, your seed and the egg, they're very important. That is the essence of, the creation of life, in terms of how we morph into these beings that we are now, these physical forms. So even nurturing our whole body in a holistic way, not just through proper eating, but also proper breathing, healthy sex practices, fasting. All of these things are so important for us to properly connect with our essence, with our spirit, with that Christ consciousness, right? So, this milk and honey, this cerebral spinal fluid that travels up and down our spine, activating our body in different ways. Imagine if we had that awareness and we knew how to, in a sense, put more fuel to the fire or add the flavor just by thinking about it. And what that will do is create so much more harmony with oneself, and therefore, as within, so without. You become more connected to the world around you, the people around you. So I definitely think that, even the way that we talk about this Santa Claus, or this Saint Claustrum, as opposed to this fictional character that we have, and we lie to our children and tell them, there's this fat white man named Santa Claus, and he's gonna come down the chimney, and many of us don't even have chimneys, and deliver these presents, and we're gonna leave cookies and milk out for him, and then we're gonna eat all of this food the next day. And I think that there's beautiful aspects of everything, right? Even the joy and the cheer that people get around this time of year. And I'm definitely not one to be a Grinch or try to ruin anyone's joy or fun. It's more so waking up in a conscious way to be more aware of these things that we are experiencing. So the story of Santa Claus is truly, once again, about our anatomy. And even when we talk about the Bible, it's talking about the same thing, that Saint Claustrum and the essence of Jesus are related. Those 33 vertebrae, or Jacob's ladder, this is, you are the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is in you, right? As the book says. So we definitely just have to be aware, because there's a lot of devices and a lot of beautiful things in literature and religion and spirituality that, if we don't utilize our own critical thinking, but also be in tune with our spirit, we're easily manipulated by these forces. Romans 14, chapter 14, verse 5 and 6. One person regards one day above another, another regards every day alike. Each person must be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it for the Lord, and he who eats does it for the Lord, for he gives thanks to God, and he who eats not, for the Lord he does not eat, and gives thanks to God. If the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is in you, and our body is our temple, right? Even during these holidays, as I was saying earlier, just the overindulgent aspect has been very toxic, very poisonous to our society, to our people. So this verse from Jeremiah chapter 10 in particular, I'm going to start actually at the first verse, right? Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them, for customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers that move not. Yeah, just having that, once again, that consciousness, that awareness, I think is super important for us to at least have these discussions, So today I wanted to definitely just get on and speak about what these days mean for me based on the things that I've been learning, the things that I've been experiencing, what Spirit is telling me. Something else I wanted to bring up this year, particularly in 2022, is this weather. And I think it's quite interesting, and very convenient that there has been this huge cold front that's been causing, a lot of flood, droughts in different places, and just pretty much, very questionable. And whether this is a man-made or supernatural thing, I think it is very significant and should be explored. We know that weather modification is definitely a real thing. There has already been, this past year, admittance of them using artificial rain in Dubai to cool down the environment because they were facing some extreme heat, right? I don't doubt, or I don't rule it out, that there is potentially weather modification happening in many different places on this planet, and it's happening and not being told to the people, to the everyday people. So with that being said, I just want to, send everyone well wishes during this time, these cold fronts, the floods that are going on. Be safe, but be aware of all these things. And I think, for me, that's what Christ Mass is now going to be about. Me and my father, we were always joking, like, we never celebrate these holidays, right? And I'm just really looking at the beautiful parts of it and the significance of it in terms of, family being off at work and being able to be with them and whatnot. But certain traditions, certain customs, certain ceremonial practices that we may not even realize, like getting by the tree and lighting it up and, doing the gifts and, leading to, for most people, a lot of crap food and, a lot of, once again, overindulging. I think it's important that we definitely shape traditions for ourselves, and the customs, the practices that we do, be intentional and be something that we can actually use for our families to evolve with, to grow from, as opposed to something that has been a toxic habit or toxic habits in our communities. So, long story short, for me, every day is a holy day. I don't believe in lying to your children. I don't believe in the push for spending all of this money and people going in debt just to provide for their families. This idea of, what it means to be a Christian. I don't support the overindulgence. I do support the connecting with family, the getting together, the deeper meanings of even understanding ourselves from the anatomy point and from the spirituality point. And with that being said, every day is a holiday. Continue to celebrate life, continue to celebrate you. Peace, love, guidance, abundance. Enough love.